Today we're going to talk about several different things dealing with central tendency. Some of these things are 7th grade objectives, some of these things are 8th grade objectives, but really it's kind of a review that you need to know before we move into the algebra information of statistics that we're getting ready to go into. So, first of all, 3 measures of center. Mean. The mean is another word for the average, where you add all the data and then divide by the total number of data items. Median is if you put the numbers in the order from least to greatest, it is the number in the middle. So for instance, if I had the numbers 1, 2, and 3, my median would be 2. If I had 1, 2, 3, and 4, what I would do is I would have 2 numbers in the middle. I would have to add those 2 numbers together, 2 plus 3. I would get 5, and then find the average of those numbers, which divided by 2 would be 2.5. And finally, the mode. The mode is the number that occurs the most. So if I had the numbers 1, 1, 2, 3, and 3, my modes, there's 2 of them, would be 1 and 3. If there was another 3, though, in the data, then my mode would only be 3. Okay. So, it says the height in feet of 8 waterfalls in the state of Washington are listed below. Which measure of central tendency best represents the data? Explain your reasoning. So the question is determining mean, median, or mode. Which one of those best represents the data? Now, suppose you eliminate the greatest value. Which measure of central tendency now represents the remaining data? Explain your reasoning. So go ahead, determine the mean, median, and mode of this data, and determine which one best represents the data. And then once again, do problem number 2. Now, on to page 3, page 2. Let's talk about histograms, okay? Frequency, that is the number of times a data measure occurs. A frequency table groups data into values into equal intervals with no gaps between intervals and no intervals overlapping. A histogram is related to a dot plot, if you know what that is. Instead of dots, it uses bars, kind of like a bar graph, to display how data is distributed. Unlike a bar graph that uses categories, histograms must be intervals and ordered along the x-axis. The width of each column is called an interval. The height of each column is the occurrence. Okay, so make a histogram. So it says the price in dollars of sandwiches at a restaurant are listed below. Make a frequency table and histogram. Now, our intervals need to be consistent. So if I'm going from 4 to 459, I'm going to then go from 450 to 499. And then I'm going to go from 5 to 549. And then finally 550 to 6. All right, so these are going to be my intervals. All right, and that's dollars, of course. So there's 2 4s, 425, 450, 475, 595, 550, 550, 575. Okay, so now we can go ahead. We have 4 categories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll break this up kind of into fourths. We'll just go from here to here. Would be 4 to 449. Here to here would be 450 to 499. Here to here would be 5 to 549. And then finally here, I guess I didn't break this up very well, did I? Would be 550 to 6. I guess I should have gone by 2s. Okay, anyway. So now this is going to be the frequency on the left side. So let's go ahead and we'll say 2, 4, 6. Okay. Now, the number of sandwiches from 4 to 449, we'll go ahead and say that goes up to about here, right? That's about 3, I guess. 450 to 499. And this most certainly doesn't have to be in different colors. I'm just doing this to kind of represent it for you. From 5 to 549, there are none, so that would just stay as is. And from 550 to 6, it would go up. There's 4 of them, so it would go up to here. And here's our histogram. Okay, so if you would please go ahead and do number 4. Set up a histogram. Set up a frequency table, set up a histogram to represent the song request per day. Okay, stem and leaf. All right, so I'm thinking you probably have experience with mean, median, mode. I'm thinking that you probably have experience with histograms. Now let's go ahead and talk about stem and leaf. This is something new for you in algebra. It isn't that difficult. We'll probably spend a little bit of time next class on it, but hopefully we can move on to some of the higher levels of statistics in algebra next class. So let's see here. The data displays that organizes the data based on stem and leaf data display that organizes data based on their value. The stem normally is representative of the tens spot. The leaf is generally representative of the ones. Box and whisker plots organizes data into values into 4 groups. Ordered data are divided into 2 halves by the median. The median of the lower half is called the lower quartile. The median of the upper half is called the upper quartile. The interquartile range, that's the data between the two quartiles. It's the data between the upper and lower quartile. And an outlier is data that's not consistent with the rest of the data. For instance, if we were talking about ages in our classroom, my age would be the outlier because it's so much more than your age. Okay. Okay, the data value is greater than the upper quartile range. The data value is considered an outlier if the data value is greater than the upper quartile or less than the lower quartile. All right, so it says make a stem and leaf and find the measures of center. Make a box and whisker and identify any outliers. I'm going to go ahead and do this one. It does take time, and then you'll be asked to do the other one. So let me go ahead and start with the stem and leaf. Let's see here. This is my stem, this is my leaf. All right. I even have an example of it on my chalkboard if you take a look at that. My stems are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right. So I'm going to start with my ones. I only have one number that starts with a 1, so my leaf would be 5. So that would be 15, okay? Let's see, 2s. We want to put these in order too, so that's why I'm kind of stopping and looking. So I have 20 and 25, so it'd be 0, 5. 3s would just be 30. 4s would be 40. 5s would be 55. 6 would be 60. And 7 would be 70. Okay, so there's my stem and leaf plot. Check. Find the measures of center. That's my median, all right? So I can do it a couple of ways. I'm just going to use my stem and leaf plot and count from the outside going in. Normally what I've done in the past is I've listed all the numbers going from least to greatest and I've counted out, but I'm going to kind of use this. So I go from 70, 15, my lowest and my highest, cross them out. 60, 25. Let's see here, 55, 20. And so my two numbers in the middle are 30 and 40. So 30 plus 40 is going to be 70. I divide that by 2. I end up with my median of being 35. Okay, so there's my measure of center. Now it says make a box and whisker plot. Okay, so here's my number line. Say my median here is 35. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to find my median of my upper set of numbers and my median of my lower set of numbers. So I'm going to start with 40 and count 40, 70, and I'm stuck between 60 and 55. 60 plus 55 is going to be 115 divided by 2. It's going to be 58. I think. That doesn't make sense. 57.5. That sounds better. All right. So my upper quartile is going to be 57.5. My lower quartile, let's see, here's 30 and 15, and so I'm trying to find the median between 20 and 25. So 20 plus 25 is going to be 45. Divide that by 2. 45 divided by 2 is 22.5. Okay. So here is my box. All right. My data. Here's my median. My box is going to be this data here. Okay. My whiskers go down to 15 and up to 70. All right. If I had taken more time, I would probably have a number line that was spaced out correctly. Okay. But I did not take that time. So, do I have any outliers to the data? I would probably say no. There's nothing in this data that really indicates anything extraordinarily much larger than or much less than the amount of data. If I would have had a number like 103, then that would have been an outlier to the data, but I don't have any outliers to this data. Okay, so what I'd like you to do, please, is to go ahead, do the exact same thing that I did to this last set of data, okay? So that means that I want you to make a stem and leaf plot, find the measures of center, and make a box and whisker plot, and if there's any outliers, identify them. Thank you.